What up, my fellow dorks? The Turtle Dork here with a new review for you. This one I have for you is Valerian and the City of 1,000 Planets. This is a film that we saw for our annual end of Comic-Con. We usually hit a movie on Sundays to go check out a film, and this year it was Valerian. There was two films that came out that weekend, Valerian and Dunkirk, but we really wanted to wait to see Dunkirk, because we didn't feel like that was necessarily a Comic-Con film to kind of cap off our stay in San Diego and everything that we experienced at Comic-Con. So we wanted to wait for that one. So we felt like maybe Valerian was more in line with the Comic-Con vibe. So yeah, we went and saw this movie. Let me give you the synopsis real quick. I have that up here. So a dark force threatens Alpha, a vast metropolis and home to species from 1,000 planets. Special operative Valerian and Laureline must race to identify the marauding menace and safeguard not just Alpha but the future of the universe. Now this film stars Dane DeHaan as Valerian, Cara Delevingne, Clive Owens, Rihanna's in it. I gotta tell you, the beginning of this film was really intriguing, and really it really grabbed me when you see the Alpha, how Alpha is created, and how Alpha over thousands of years is created from these different nations coming together in space and from our world Earth, and then hundreds of years later you see not just different nations, but then you have different species from other worlds, and they kind of come, and it's almost like these satellites and spaceships are kind of connecting, and they're forming like this, basically this world and this planet where all of these different nations, ethnicities, species are living on Alpha, after we get, thousands of years later. And so I liked that setup. I thought that setup was done really well. I think the world building that's done here is really exceptional. Seeing the design of the species, seeing the designs of these worlds, of this technology that these special operatives use, it's really cool to kind of see that. So I mean, when you talk about science fiction, sci-fi, fantasy, and kind of like these space operas and epics, it's always cool to see how they build these worlds out, and that's always intriguing to see. Whether or not the movie fails or succeeds, I think watching the world building in these type of films is always fascinating. But with that being said, I gotta say this movie didn't really do much for me personally. It kind of just trods along. It kind of meanders through. There's kind of like it kind of veers off in kind of like this subplot with Laureline, where she gets captured and you kind of go away. And I'm not saying that doesn't work. It actually reminded me of a movie that does that, and does that in a better way, which is True Lies. I know comparing Valerian and True Lies, but when you kind of have that subplot, that story where they kind of go away from the main storyline, and it kind of focuses on Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jamie Lee Curtis and their marriage, and with the character of Bill Paxton, when he thinks that she's cheating on him with Bill Paxton, and the movie kind of stops and it goes off on a different direction. I think in a movie like that it works, but here it feels like when they kind of veer off, it kind of just loses its momentum. We do meet an interesting character of Rihanna, who kind of plays, I'm trying to remember this film because it's been actually a few weeks, kind of like this alien shapeshifter type of character. But I found the design of that really intriguing and interesting. But again, like I said, just watching this film, it's forgettable, and it really just, there's nothing there's nothing that really stands out about it other than the aesthetic of the world. I thought the actors did decent. I didn't really have a problem with Cara Delavine, I'm trying to pronounce her name correctly, didn't like her in Suicide Squad. It was, I don't know if it was her acting or the character or a combination of both. Maybe the combination of both. But I found her acting in this not terrible. Actually, kind of liked her character in this movie a little bit. But Dane DeHaan, he's a great actor, but again, ultimately they get them bogged down in kind of like these really kind of trite, dumb storylines, and I don't know, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. But and it's unfortunate because I know that Valerian was a passion project for Luc Besson. And Luc Besson has been working on this for a while and actually put up a lot of his own money for this as well. And I know that Valerian was like a French comic book that's been around for decades, I think from like the early 70s, maybe even the 60s. And it goes back to even something like Ghost in the Shell or John Carter, when you have movies that are kind of made a little too late, because now films like this that are being made, they feel derivative of movies that were inspired by their source material. And that's unfortunate, because now it's like, you know, when you see stuff like Valerian or John Carter or Ghost of Mars, you know, you're comparing it to movies like Star Wars and The Matrix. But you got to remember, like, those movies were inspired by the source material from these type of films. So it's unfortunate that these movies weren't made earlier to really kind of find that audience. But I mean, unfortunately, that's just kind of how it is. So I guess with a score for Valerian, I would probably, again, I didn't hate the film, but it wasn't that great. I'd probably give it like a C minus, so I'd give it a straight 70 out of 100. It's probably good for a rental, maybe a Redbox, or if it's on Netflix, definitely check it out. But yeah, I wouldn't pay 9, 10, 11, 12 bucks to go see this film. It's definitely not worth it. But yeah, those are my initial thoughts for Valerian, the City of a Thousand Planets. So go ahead and let me know what you thought of the trailer in the comments below. Go ahead, rate, like, subscribe, and share, and go ahead and check out my other dorks at MouthDork, at TheDiscoDork, and at Sidewalk Siren. And as for me, I am the Turtle Dork, and with that, your boy is out.